Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. Glad to see you all. All right, there's quite a few of you here, so I'm slowly admitting everyone in, so please be patient with me. I'm glad to see some familiar faces, some new faces. This is wonderful. All
I have a
right.
question if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
First question, is this going to be recorded?
Yes, it will.
Perfect. And the second, and the reason why I was asking is because I have a meeting with my professor at 7:30, so I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure.
Yes. And when you enter, did it say that you were recording? I just want to be sure. Does it currently say at the top that it's recording?
No,
It
it
did.
doesn't.
It did on my site.
It
It
did on
did?
mine.
Okay.
Did.
Okay. I probably hit it right before you came in. Is that Shardell that asked the question? Is that how you
Yes.
pronounce it?
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct.
It is recording right now, so I'm checking it right now. It's recording. All
Okay,
right.
perfect.
And then you will also receive the PowerPoint that I have for you too, okay?
Perfect. Thank you
Okay.
so
You're
much.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'm letting people in. They're slowly trickling in, so I'll give another minute. I'm just constantly hitting join, join, join. Here we go. This is great. Glad to have you all.
Glad to be here.
Good. And if you do need to leave, if you've got a meeting or an evening class, feel free to step on out, okay?
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, feel free to also, if you want to turn on your camera, if you're able to, it's wonderful. I get to see all of your beautiful faces as well. All right, so I'm so glad you're here. I'm Professor Patchke. I am the ESL specialist in the Ally Center. I'm an adjunct faculty. I teach in person and on campus. And I am also the Imago Dei Center director. Our center is at the Lancaster campus, and the center focuses on inclusion, diversity, and belonging. All right, so that's a little bit about myself. I'm glad you're in this webinar tonight. I'm thrilled that you're here because reading is a heavy topic. You might not like to read, or you might like to read. I'm not sure. Um, but in this session, we're going to challenge some of the assumptions about how we read. Okay. Most of us grew up thinking that reading faster is better, right? Did many of us grow up, were we told that, or do we think that? Yeah, I see your heads nodding, like more pages, more articles, more information, and we got it, right? But have you ever noticed that the more you read, sometimes the less you remember? And as we age, we are struggling to comprehend what we read. We have so many distractions. So we're going to look at that today. All right. Um, we're going to explore whether speed reading or that skimming is the best approach, or if deep reading is the best approach that is going to strengthen our comprehension, our focus, and the retention that we need. Okay. So this is going to be beneficial for all levels, whether or not you are an undergrad student, a grad and STEM student, or even in the doctoral program. Okay. By the end of the session, I hope that you will know when to skim, when to slow down, and also how to choose the right strategy for what you're reading. Okay. So if you've been in my session before, you know I love these like warm-up activities just to get your mind thinking. Here's a warm-up activity for you. Okay. Talking about your own reading habits. Look at number one. Okay. In the chat. Okay. Let me let some more people in actually before I get started. Here we go. In the chat, answer this first question. How many books do you currently have started but unfinished? Okay.
Oh my.
Yeah. Oh my Lord. Isn't that
Oh,
right?
I'm sorry, Professor T. I just joined in. I didn't even know I was unmuted. Oh, sorry.
Hello. I'm
Hi,
glad you're
Professor
here.
T.
Hi. Good to see you. I'm so glad you're here, Ginger. So think about even maybe not books, maybe an open tab or an article that you have and it's just sitting there, right? So I'll let you put that in the chat. And you might see my mouse, that blue dot, it's frantically going everywhere on the screen. It's just because I'm opening up the participants and letting people in, okay? So I apologize. If it starts to hurt your eyes, please let me know. All right, how many books or articles do you currently have started but they're unfinished? Just type that number in. All right, let's check this chat. Let's see what's coming. Oh my goodness. All right, so it's a range, right? We've got 4, we've got 2, we've got none. Wow, awesome. We've got 8, at least 5, 4 in the Kindle. Did I see a 15? Someone put 15. Yeah, 15. Okay, look at the numbers coming in. So guess what? You're not alone. Okay. Most of us have more tabs open or half-read books than we even care to admit. Okay. And those of you who put none, that's awesome. Maybe you haven't even started reading, or you're just an avid reader. So awesome. That's good for you. Let's go a little deeper now. Okay, let's go a little deeper. Look at number 2. When you open an article, a book, or a report, right? What decides whether you skim or you read slowly? What decides? Is it the length? Is it the topic? Is it the time pressure? Okay, what is it? Go ahead and drop that in the chat. There's just so many of you, I might not have you all speak at once. So drop it in the chat. What is it? Okay. Time pressure. It looks like Geneva put the font. Yes, that's fascinating. Yeah, Tom, the letter size. Too many words that you don't know. Okay, that's the vocabulary. That's really good, Caleb. Only if it grabs your interest, the length. Regina, I skim everything. I'm glad you're laughing at yourself because we're going to talk about why you shouldn't just skim everything. Time pressure, the topic. Yes, so many good things coming in. Okay. I'll let some more people, it looks like they're still coming in here. All right, that is wonderful. So to put this in perspective, the latest research has shown that the average adult today spends less than 30 seconds glancing at especially a digital article before deciding they want to continue reading it or just click away from it. That is barely enough time to register the meaning, let alone absorb it. So that is just deciding whether or not they want to read it or click away from it. And we just did that example of how many open books or tabs that you have sitting there that are unfinished. Okay. So let's dig a little deeper and let's figure out what is really happening when we choose to read fast or to read slow. You might be surprised that both speed reading and deep reading have their place. The trick is knowing which one your brain needs at that moment. Okay. So we're going to start with speed reading. Speed reading is also known as skimming, right? You're going really quick, right? You've probably seen all the promises, right? Okay, read your book in an hour, or read the entire chapter in 30 minutes, or triple your reading speed and just remember everything. Okay, those are some of the promises that are told. The idea behind it sounds so magical, right? But our brains are not designed to process complex meaning at lightning speed like that. Okay. When we skim or when we speed read, the brain focuses mainly on recognition, not reflection. We have to train ourselves to do that reflection piece. So your brain is scanning for familiar words or the general ideas. That's what we do when we're skimming. Okay. It's like flipping quickly through photos. You're like, I know I have this photo somewhere, and you're scrolling. You're like trying to find it. Okay. You're trying to find the one that stands out because you can see it. You get breadth, but not the depth. Okay. Skimming does work, but only for certain reasons, and we're going to look at that. Okay. So I want you to think about the way that you read an email when you're in a hurry or when you're scrolling on social media. You are looking for what? You're looking for headlines, key cues, fragments. Okay, that's what you're looking for. That is speed reading in action, and it's perfectly fine when the goal is to filter or to overview something. But if you are studying, evaluating an argument or a case study or savoring the material, speed reading is actually going to short circuit the comprehension. Okay. You'll finish the words, but you'll lose the meaning. And that's not what we want. Okay. I'm going to pause here. I'm just going to check through the chat because it looks like people are commenting. Okay. All right. And if you have questions, please put them in the chat. I'll try and answer them at the end. Okay. So that's just the overview of speed reading or skimming. Let's look at deep reading. Deep reading is what happens when you slow down enough to think between the lines. It is analytical, it's reflective, it's emotionally connective. Think about when you study scripture. I hope when you're studying scripture, you're not skimming. Now's not the time to do the skimming. I know, Ginger, you're preaching over there. That's not the time to do the skimming, okay? In deep reading, your brain activates what researchers are going to call, it's the default mode network. It's a certain part of the brain. Okay, I'm not going to give you all the big psychological terms, but this default mode network, that part of this brain, it helps you imagine, it helps you empathize with the material, it helps you synthesize your ideas. That's part of deep reading. You're not just decoding this text, you're actually building mental connections. You're rewiring everything. The brain is getting additional oxygen. There are neurons firing. That's what we want, right? So let me give you an example. Imagine rereading a paragraph in a novel where a character finally understands something about herself that she never knew about herself all her life, right? Those words, when that happens in that novel, they might carry weight. Okay, it's not just because it's a long, complicated story. It's because it invites you to pause and feel what's happening in that story when she finds something out about herself that she never knew. Okay, that's deep reading. It's deep reading when it connects, like something in scripture, you connect with it, you feel with it, right? Contrast that with skimming, like a procedural manual or an online article, okay? Your goal there is just to extract information. It's not emotional, okay? So trying to read that deeply will actually waste your time. Like when you're trying to go through a manual and read all of it, don't do it, okay? Let's look at, I'm going to stop and pause here. I just need to check this chat because there's so many of you. Just want to make sure we're on the right track. Okay, so here's the truth. Here's what I want to tell you. There's no one right way to read. There is a right way for the right purpose. Okay? Or make that very clear. So if you are gathering sources, preparing for a meeting, or just sorting through newsletters, articles, books, you're just sorting through, speed reading is the most efficient. Okay? If you are trying to absorb a concept, learning a new skill, or exploring a part of a story, whether it's a fictional book, fiction, or the Bible, deep reading is going to give you a lasting understanding and help with memory retention. Okay, so in other words, to summarize that in one sentence, skim for context, slow down for meaning, always. Okay, and I think sometimes as college students, we get that switched. I have some of my adult learners who they will skim everything, or it's the complete opposite. They read everything, word for word. They spend hours reading when there are some, you could be skimming for some reasons, okay? All right. So let's think about this. Now that we understand how speed reading and deep reading work, let's get practical. Okay, we need to talk about some strategies here. How do you choose which mode your brain should be using before you start reading? Okay, think that through because one of the one of the biggest mistakes we make is just diving into the material without deciding what kind of reading the task is asking us to do. Okay? It might be very implicit. We might know. It could be in the instructions. There are some courses at LBC that will have all these modules, right? You have to watch all these videos, and it says, read this article, read this, read this, read that. And then maybe a discussion question says, based on the video that you watched, give this answer. Okay, I understand. It's asking you to read all these. Some areas might just be for additional knowledge, because if you look at the question is asking you about the videos, not the article. So think through the instructions too. I think many times college students spend too much time reading everything. Okay, so let's look at choosing the right reading mode, right? Before you start any text, you must, or you should, I guess I can't say you must, I'm not requiring it to, you're all adults. You really should pause just for 5 seconds and ask yourself, okay, what's my goal here? Let's take reading out, side note, before any assignment. What's my goal? What is my professor asking me to do? I know there's like 10 instructions and there's so much material. What's my end goal? Okay. Think about reading now. Go back to the reading. If your goal here is to just gather the main points, you're skimming. Okay. If it's to understand and analyze and research, okay, to write a paper, you need to slow down, right? If it's to experience or even imagine, to feel the material, you got to slow down. All right. That's how you'll know. Think of it like driving. Okay. Sometimes you're cruising on the highway. All right. You're trying to get somewhere extremely fast though. Like you're speeding. Okay. Other times you might be on a back road, windows down, and you're just winding through a beautiful scenic route, right? You're not in a hurry, but you're going to the same destination. Okay. You notice every turn though. Both are driving. You're doing both. You're driving in both scenarios, but with two very completely different intentions. Okay. So let's start with skimming. Skimming, again, is scanning text to find structure, headlines, subheadlines, core ideas. That's skimming. Here's when you need to skim. 3 things. You're going to skim when reviewing background material before doing a deep study. You're going to skim when you search for key terms or definitions. A side note, even when you're conducting research and you're trying to choose your materials, again, you're not going to open up every journal article and read the whole thing. Go in the LBC library and read the abstract. It will tell you so much about that article or that ebook. Okay? Just skim it. You're also going to skim reading emails, reports like at your job or any other surface summaries. Okay? Unless the email, I've had emails, students say, well, I get emails that are extremely long and there's so much information. Yes, take some time to read those if you see that they are needing some deep reading. Otherwise, you're going to open your email, skim it, and reply. Okay? So here's the helpful rule that I will tell students is that when you need the orientation piece, skim it first. Okay? It's going to give your brain a map of the territory before you explore the details. That's what skimming does. You're giving it a map before you actually go and explore everything else. All right? So now when should you slow down? Right? Here's when you should slow down and read. Whenever the material begins to feel really dense or unfamiliar. Obviously, if it's unfamiliar, read it. Okay? Take it all in, absorb all that information. Also slow down when the content feels nuanced. I'm talking about philosophy, in your theology classes, emotional writing, When you do emotional writing, slow down for that. Okay. And also slow down when your goal is understanding, not just taking in information. When the goal is to understand, that's when you slow down. If you're just trying to take in information, you can skim it. All right. Deep reading is where the insight lives. Okay. It's the difference between knowing the definition of empathy and actually feeling empathy through a story. Okay. That's the difference with the skimming and the deep reading. One is just knowing the definition, one is actually feeling it. All right. All right. Let's try a quick exercise. If you've been in my webinars, you know I love to bring in some exercises to get you to practice this. I know this might be challenging to do. The outcome might not be the greatest for you because you might be currently be in a distracting environment, but we're going to try it. Okay, so work with me here. On my next slide, I'm going to share a paragraph. Okay, this first time that we read it, you are skimming. You're reading it quickly. You're just trying to grasp the general message. That's it. Do not pause. Do not go back and reread your sentences. Read through it one time. You've got I'll give you 15, 20 seconds. That's it. Are we clear? Okay. You're skimming, right? Just trying to find the general message. All right. Are we good? All right. Here we go. All right. Can we see this paragraph? Any heads nodding? Are we good? The full thing, hopefully. All right. Go right ahead. I'll give you about 20 seconds. Okay. All right. Let's stop there. Okay. How do you feel? Do you think you have the general concept, the message of that? Do you think you have it? Okay. We're going to reread the same paragraph again. This time you're going to read it slowly. I want you to pause in your mind, pause between the sentences. I want you to focus on the tone, the details, any implications, the grammar. Okay. Look at all of this as you're reading it. Okay. See if you can tell the difference. I know some of you have distractions right now in the house or whatnot, or our mind is elsewhere. But if you can, try and notice the small details about the wording, and pausing is really going to help you. Okay. All right. Here's your paragraph again. I'll give you about another 30 seconds here. I'll give you a little bit longer, maybe 45 seconds. Okay. Let's pause there. So take 30 seconds. If you have a pen and paper, I want you to write down, summarize in your own words what you just read. Okay, I want you to reflect on it. What did you just read? Let's see if you can do that. All right, there's a lot of you here, but would anyone like to share what you wrote down? Can you give us a summary of what you just read? Yes, I see
All
it.
right. Oh,
Yes, go. And then Michael, I see your hand raised after the young lady who spoke first. Okay. All right, who spoke first? I'm scrolling through
oh,
everybody here.
I think that was
Oh,
me.
hi, Ginger. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ginger, and then Michael. Go ahead. What's your
Oh,
summary?
no, I just did a quick summary from what I read. The strength in deep reading as opposed to skimming. How you don't get the understanding or insight that you would get if you were to take your time and read when you're not under pressure.
That's right. Okay. Wonderful. And see that? That's in your own words. That's a reflection piece. Okay. Very good, Ginger. Michael.
Okay, slowing down to read helps to retain what you're reading, gives better comprehension and understanding of what you're reading, as opposed to just skimming where you're just gathering quick facts.
Okay.
Uh,
Very good, Michael. All right. Thanks for sharing your summary. Now, what did you notice differently about the second time? Anyone, feel free to share. What did you notice differently about reading that second time for the deep reading? Did you notice anything? Emotionally, mentally, physically? Are you less stressed, more stressed?
Yes, less pressure because I was able to take my time and focus instead of
Okay.
skimming like I always do, which I'm trying to learn not to do. That's why I came to this class.
Are you? Yes, you're one of my readers. Yes, that's a good point, Ginger. Jeffrey, I see your hand raised. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
How you doing? This is my first time here. The first
Welcome.
time I skimmed it, I had no idea what I'm reading. I was like, I'm seeing study this, that. I'm thinking it's like
Okay.
a parent like talking to a student about studying. Then I read
Mhm.
it, and then it's like a nuanced definition of skimming versus deep reading and the benefits of each compared to each other briefly.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Glad you're here. Welcome. First time. Yes, Miss Ford. Hi.
Hi. Hi. Oh,
Hi, go right ahead. Yes.
I'm muted. So for me, the first time, I messed up the first time and I read it like three times real fast when you told us
Okay.
not to reread.
Yeah,
I guess because habit,
it's a
but
habit.
the second time, I agree with them. The ability to slow down. It actually made me now I memorized a lot of what was written, but
Yeah.
it's because I was able to like connect what was being said with things that I actually do. Like you were saying, reading between tasks. That's typically what I do all day.
Yeah.
When I'm at work,
Yeah.
I will pull up Kindle online and be pulling and reading in
Yeah.
between my different things. And so everything that it was saying, and I do the checklist thing. I'm a little planner and all
Okay.
this stuff.
Yeah.
So it really it it sticks, especially the
Yeah.
second time because I was able to connect what it was saying with things that I actually did.
Right. That's a great point. Thank you for sharing. And in the chat, looks like somebody mentioned punctuation. They actually mentioned the punctuation. Someone else mentioned the detailed context. Um, so you do realize like the text never changed, right? It was the same one.
Mhm.
What changed was also your attention. Okay. It should have changed just briefly. Okay. And your attention is what really turns reading into learning. It's to give it that full attention. Um, I also talk about, I'm not going to go into it now, but we call it reading for virtue formation. Okay. Reading for academics or deep reading, it requires temperance. It requires patience and prudence. It's reading for virtue formation. When we skim or when we read for even leisure, right? It's just whatever. I'm just going to read for fun. When we deep read, we are choosing, we must tell ourselves, we must slow down. We have to. That's what should have changed in the second part was the attention piece. Okay? Let's go on. I see some things coming in the chat. I will check them in 1 second. I want to look at a way to blend everything in. It's what I call it's a reading pyramid model. Okay, I'm going to give you 4 stages. All right, so go through these 4 stages, and then on the next slide, I'm going to give you questions that you should ask yourself when you're going in to read. So number one, first stage, that's previewing. Previewing is like you are going over and you are just glancing through any abstract or heading subheadings. Okay, you're previewing the material, you're prepping yourself. Number two on that pyramid, going up, okay, you are then skimming. You're looking for the major ideas. What is the structure of what you're reading? The third, that's your deep dive. You are going to slow down for meaning and analysis. Okay? When you're trying to find a quote in an article or a book, that's deep reading. Okay? Yes, I guess you can say if you're reading like this, you're skimming, you're trying to find this quote. Okay, yes. But if you are trying to find a quote that matches the material that you're writing on, you are going to need to deep read that material to make sure that quote aligns and if you can use that in your paper. Right? That's the deep dive. The fourth is the reflect. You got to pause and summarize after completing your work. That's the retention piece. That's the learning piece. And when we don't do that, we miss what we just learned. Okay. Yes, taking breaks, that's going to help, but it's that reflection piece at the very end. Okay. And depending on, like the professional or even the lifelong learner that we are, okay, we can master this flexibility. So yes, we will read faster. We will read smarter. Okay. No, those of us we've become avid readers in the professional field, it still takes us a while to read and find materials and find the research. Trust me, it does. So let me show you some questions that go along with these 4 stages. So previewing, ask yourself this, what is the text about? What do I need to know here? Okay. When you're skimming, what are the main ideas? You can most likely always pull out 3 ideas right there. Name them, write them down. Your third, the deep dive. What does this mean for me? And what details matter for your paper? Okay. And then your last one, when you reflect, you should be asking yourself, what did you learn? How are you going to use it? And guess what? Not in every class, you might not always say, oh, I'm going to use exactly what I wrote about in my paper. You might not. Okay. All right. Those are the questions that go along with the reading pyramid model. So now that we've looked at how to choose your reading mode, let's talk about what happens within each mode. This is what we need to work on right now. I'm going to give you strategies and I'm going to talk about each strategy to help you boost 3 areas: focus, comprehension, and retention. Now I'm going to turn on this light because I see it getting a little dark in here. There we go. Okay. When I give you these strategies, the purpose is that you'll actually remember what you read by incorporating these into reading, okay? Because truthfully, most reading frustration, it doesn't come from speed. It comes from the distractions, okay? And to add to that, it also comes from maybe a lack of understanding. It's the comprehension piece, but the distractions are the number one, okay? So we're going to go from left to right here. Here's your first strategy, is setting the mental stage, okay? Before you even start reading, your mindset matters. Meaning, if you open up an article or a book and you're thinking, okay, yeah, I just got to get through this. I just need to get through this. I have an hour. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get through this and we're going to be fine. Okay? Your brain is going to categorize that as a chore, not something that it wants to do, because you're telling yourself, I just got to get this done. This is really dumb. I don't know why I'm in this class. I just got to get it done. Okay? Right? I hear it all the time with my students. But when you frame it as, I'm curious to find one useful insight from this reading, I can guarantee you, your focus automatically shifts. Okay? That small change can increase your comprehension because you're activating the brain's reward center. Okay? Then you're going to begin scanning for meaning instead of just getting through all the words. Right? Because you're telling yourself, okay, I'm trying to find one useful insight. You're not just trying to rush through it. Okay? That's setting the mental stage. A quick technique for this is asking the one question of, what's the main message that I want to find here? Right? That question keeps your mind on track, especially when you're reading really long texts. Okay? The next strategy here is active reading tools. All right? So here are the tools. This is going to help you move from passive to active reading. Okay, I'm not going to get into depth, but passive reading is when your eyes are just moving, but your brain is not. Okay? Active reading is when you are making the text your own. You're making it part of your own life. Okay? You're applying it. So 3 simple tools here. Annotating. Annotating, meaning circle if you can print off some articles. Okay? Circle key terms, underline transitions or underline key terms, jot down any reactions that you have to the reading. That's annotating, right? Then in the margin, you can take notes, write questions, or even short summaries that you have about what you're reading. Okay? If you have a really dense section and you're struggling to understand it, just make note. Okay, what does this mean? Circle this word. I need to search this vocabulary word because this is new to me. Wow, look at this concept. I've never heard this. Sometimes you might go on a rabbit trail doing more research because you're so fascinated by what you're reading, right? So try and stay on track, but you can write notes in the margin. Okay, that's why I say printing this stuff off is really helpful. Or if you buy the books, I know a lot of students, they don't want to spend the money on buying the books. But if you're the type of learner, if you're a kinesthetic learner, I highly recommend doing that. Okay, using the book and writing in it, right? The third is to pause and to also paraphrase it. I recommend even in devotions or even during a sermon, when you're listening to someone speak, every few chapters, every few pages, even if you need every few paragraphs, summarize what you just read in one sentence. When you do that, you're taking all that information that was given to you at once, putting it in one sentence. You're telling your brain, this is what I learned, and you personalized it. You made it your own. And you leave that sentence right there. You go to the next. I recommend doing it out loud too, saying it out loud and writing it down. 2 different ways of memory. Okay, 2 different ways of comprehension, right? These actions here for the active reading tools, these are going to turn your reading from input to interaction. That's what we want. We want you to interact with the material, right? Your brain retains what it wrestles with. That's a good thing, okay? So before I go on to managing distractions, let's just do a mini version right now, okay? I want you to think of something you read recently. Maybe it was a report, a news article, a verse. Think of something you read recently. Okay. If you had to summarize what you read, I want you to, and it stuck with you, whatever that was, type it in the chat, please. Let's see what you learned recently, right? So I'll give you a few seconds to think about this. Think of something that you read recently. If you had to summarize it in one sentence, what was it? And place that in the chat. Hmm. All right, good summary, Jeffrey. Yeah, the inerrancy of scripture. Simple, concise, straight to the point. That's what you read about. Okay, awesome. There you go. Scripture reference. Summarize what you just read. Faithfulness, Tom. Good. Okay. Yep. Good stuff coming through. Yeah, Yolanda, great. Paul making his case for being there. Yes. Purpose of the armor of God. There you go. That's a summary. That's it. Yep. The early church defense of certain. There you go. Simple summary, one sentence, or even a phrase. Yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So if you're reading these chats with me, do you see how varied these summaries are? Very varied. Some people qualify for yes, 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 yes. They're extremely varied. That is the beauty of active reading. The fact that you all just pulled pieces of information out from what you recently read, whether that was a week ago or just this morning, you were able, because it stuck with you, you were able to summarize it. That's what I'm looking for. Yes. So active reading, again, it forces your brain to prioritize what matters most to you. So I just asked you to summarize what you read that it meant something to you. If I asked you to summarize, hey, your class last week, do you remember anything that you read for your class last week? I don't know. Some of you, yes, you might be able to say, I remember this very clearly. Some of you are like, I don't know, I skimmed it. Okay? This is what matters most to you. This is what you reflected on, right? And this is what your memory needs. It needs the active reading. Okay? All right, well done with that. Let's go on to the third strategy to help you with focus and comprehension. That's managing your distractions. Okay? Our modern world was not built for deep focus, meaning it's not, you notice many people struggle with deep focus right now. Even 5 years ago, I think we did better with deep focus. We're actually getting worse and worse, right? We've got alerts. We are multitasking, which, side note, we shouldn't be. I did a webinar on that. No multitasking. That is horrible for your brain. Though you as a person realize, yeah, I can do it. I'm doing it all. The brain hates it, by the way. I'll put you in an MRI machine and show you. Okay. Alerts, multitasking, the scrolling, the phone calls, all the distractions, right? Okay, it's part of our life. It's no wonder that our comprehension is suffering. Okay, a practical tip. If you have heard of the Pomodoro technique, right? They use that for studying, right? You study for 25 minutes, 5-minute break. This is a different kind of technique, but it's for reading. It's reading zones of time. So I put 25 and 2 method. Okay. This is 20 minutes of reading, 5 minutes of rest, 2 minutes of reflection. Notice how the rest is in between. That is there is because when you come back to reflect, you're giving your brain that break. We want to know, okay, and you're checking yourself too, is when you come back from that break, do you still remember what you read? That's why that reflection is at the end. So 20 minutes of reading, 5 minutes of rest, 2 minutes to reflect, jot down what you learned. By doing this, it conditions your brain for focus and recall. That's what we want to see. No, this is not going to happen overnight. It's not. And somebody here, I apologize, I cannot remember who said this earlier in the session. Memory is failing me. But she mentioned that even when I said don't reread, she reread it, right? Yes, she's raising her hand. Okay, there you go. She reread it. Because why? What did you say when you said you had to reread it? Do you remember?
Habit.
It's
Like I
a
said,
habit. It's a habit. That's right. And when we're trying to reduce distractions, we have all these bad habits. Okay. And that's why I say this isn't going to happen overnight. You start small. the 25-2 method does work. You have to give it time. Okay. I also want you to remember that quality is always going to be quantity. Always. Okay. A half hour of fully engaged reading beats 3 hours of distracted scanning. Why do we always go back and reread and reread and reread when we can just follow simple strategies and give 30 minutes of deep reading? There you go. You're also saving a ton of time, right? Those are managing distractions. That's one method that I would give you for managing your distractions. Okay. If you want further techniques on that, you can email me and I can give you some more tips on if you've got pets in the home or children in the home or a job that's always calling you. I can give you some techniques on how to manage those distractions as well. All right. The last strategy is reflection for retention. Again, at the end of your reading session, just take 2 minutes to reflect. All right. Take 2 minutes. And I had you do that in one of the exercises in today's session. And I asked you, can you summarize? Okay, what was the difference in that reading activity? That's reflection. This more so, you're going to ask yourself some specific questions. You're going to ask yourself, what's the main idea? Okay, what surprised me? Think about that. What surprised you? Or what challenged you in your thinking? Last question I recommend is, how can I use this for tomorrow or later this week? Okay. So that's reflection. This step is when it's really helping transfer information from your short-term memory into your long-term understanding. In other words, you're basically teaching your brain what is worth keeping. That's what you're reflecting on. Okay? All right. We are nearly done. I'm checking the time. So to wrap this up, all right, let me just give you an overview. We've explored how reading isn't just about moving your eyes faster. It's not. It's about choosing the right reading mode and engaging your mind. You've seen how skimming, deep reading, and active focus, they all have their place. Okay? So now let's close up here and connect it all. Again, there's no right way to read, but there is a wrong strategy for the wrong goal. There is. Speed reading is perfect for scanning and sorting information. Speed reading or skimming, that's what that is. Deep reading is the key to insight and connection. I want you to know that what matters is knowing your purpose before you start reading. If you just jump in and say, yep, I'm going to read a whole chapter in the next 30 minutes. Well, why? What are you hoping to accomplish here? All right? Once you pair intention with the right reading mode, whether that's skimming or deep reading, comprehension just follows naturally. It does because you're choosing the right reading mode. And then learning feels less like a task and more like a wonderful discovery. And that's how learning should be. Learning should not feel like it's a task or a chore. Learning is a wonderful gift, and the Lord has blessed us with an amazing brain that we get to hone in on the skill. Guess what? The way we learn, the way we read, it's not fixed. We can learn in these areas. We can grow in these areas, which is amazing how God designed our bodies. So as you go back to your books, this is just a thank you page. As you go back to your books, your articles that you all have left unread, okay? I hope that you'll carry a new mindset with you. You're not just reading to just finish it or get it done. You should be reading to understand and connect with it and to grow and to apply it. Remember the best readers are not the fastest ones. Okay. Okay. To this day, I am not a fast reader. All right. The ones that are the good readers, those are the intentional ones. All right. You must choose why you're reading. Why are you doing this? And once you know that why, you're more likely to comprehend the material. So, as we finish up, one more activity because we have a little bit of time. I want you to take a minute, think about the session, reflect on it, What did you learn from today? And then in the chat, if you could place that summary or what you learned or how you hope to apply it, something, reflect on it, place it in the chat. All right, and I want to read through these. All right, I'll give you all some more time. I'm just going back and I'm reading some questions. I'm trying to answer some of these. Caleb, I just responded to you. Um, and for everyone here, Caleb asked, would you also consider writing notes in a separate notebook? Would that be active reading or managing distractions? He talked about having a separate journal or notebook for each class. The way I responded was, I think that could work for organizing your thoughts. If you are in more than one class, that could work, just meaning you might easily confuse the information. So that's a great organization method right there. Would I consider, let me go back to your question. Would I consider that active reading or managing? That's managing distractions, yes. If that answers your question. Trying to scroll through. Many of you mentioned that you like the 25-2 method. That's a great takeaway. Yes. Mm-hmm. Many things coming through. Okay. It looks, yeah, that 25-2 method, many of you mentioned that that was your takeaway. That's wonderful. All right, we are about, yeah, we're done early, which is awesome. Are there any questions? I can give you time for questions, or you can always email me later on. I'll be emailing you this session and the PowerPoint tomorrow. I'm not going to say later tonight because knowing me, I might get caught up in grading and it takes some time for the recording to actually process. Um, so this will probably be tomorrow. But are there any questions now before I head out that maybe you might say everyone here might benefit from? All right, the chat's still coming in. Feel free to unmute if you have a question. Yes, good to see you too, Regina. I'm so glad that you were here.
Excuse me, Professor, I have a question.
Yeah. Hi, Jeffrey. Yes, go right
So,
ahead.
so I have I'm not trying to disclose nothing, but I have like health issues when it comes to
Okay.
like mental capacity and stuff like that.
Okay.
Or like I got mental illness, but like I notice I get a lot burnout fast. What would you
Okay.
say for your average person with reading burnout, and how long does it take to recover for your average person to get back so that you're comprehending your textbooks in a timely order, like a 8 week or 16 week course with either one or multiple classes? 'Cause that I can read, but it's the fatigue of reading is what's getting me.
The fatigue of reading. So the fatigue is coming from the reading. Okay. All right. I understand what you're saying. So that's a mental burnout as there's a lot going on. And are you physically exhausted? I mean, are you
I
yawn? Like,
mean,
are there
yeah,
physical symptoms?
yeah, like because I'm a caregiver to my dad. He's on dialysis, and
Yeah.
I'm a former like amateur bodybuilder, so I have to lift him up and
Yeah.
stuff like that, like 330 days a year,
Oh,
and
good
then
Lord.
along with being his caregiver because my mom's in tax season, it's a lot. But
Yeah.
by the grace of God, I'm trying to get this degree because like he
Yes.
wants me to. So I'm not trying to like complain, but yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to get this degree.
Yeah. Okay. And someone else just put in the chat too of like how to read or retain this information when you're exhausted, when you're tired. Um, Thank you for sharing, and I hope other people can benefit from this as well. Um, are you taking more than one course in the 8 week section? Should probably ask that before giving.
No, I'm taking one course, but I'm a
Okay.
returning student, so I have to
You're
build up the muscle memory again.
Yeah, you are. You are literally rebuilding the muscle. So what I'm first going to recommend, because you can't do this on your own, I'm going to recommend accountability. So I'm going to recommend reaching out to the Ally Center and pairing with a professional. And I'm going to recommend, I know it takes time, but it's beneficial. And if you want to improve in school, you want to be successful, I'm going to recommend taking an hour out of your week. And this is to anyone else here. Take an hour and meet with a professional. Okay, that's my first recommendation. I can dive more into what that fatigue is coming from, what that burnout is coming from, and I can give specific strategies for your case, Jeffrey, on how to build that muscle. Because, like I said, it's not going to happen overnight, right? And when we're talking also about habits, and if you that muscle in the brain, even that memory muscle, so our hippocampus is directly in the center of the brain, and it controls the memory. If we're not building that muscle, it's lacking oxygen, it's lacking the neurons that are traveling to it, meaning it is extremely weak. So I can guarantee you, if you're not using it, you can't even memorize scripture. Like you won't remember much. And it's going to take, you're talking weeks to rebuild that. I will say in the first 2 weeks, you will notice a slight difference, but you have to regain that entire muscle. Um, so side note, you can reach out. I can schedule a session with you, and give you specific tactics on what you are going through, if that helps.
Honestly, that would be great. I'm not trying to take up the seminar's time, but yeah, if you could email me or I could email you,
That
because
sounds
you're a
great.
reading professional and I'm a good reader. I'm
Um,
just like you, slow reader, but good reader. And yeah, I just need to get in shape. I'm out of shape mentally, you know?
that's all right. Yeah, thank you for that compliment. I wish I was a reading professional, but thank you though. Yeah, still a lot of learning to do, but I can give you some tactics to help with that. A lot of that is, yeah, I will go into that. I can reach out to you too. Broome. That's your last name, right? All right. I'll take note of that. Okay. Wonderful. Another question. We've got a little bit of time.
Can I
How
ask
do
one quick? Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Oh, yes, Ginger, go ahead. And then I see a question about blocking out noise. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know I mentioned this to you a long time ago in our class, but
Yeah.
my thing is I actually get discouraged behind my situation because
Okay.
I don't want to skim, and it seemed like it happens with me a lot, and I don't desire to do that. So I thought it was like my focus. I do it at work as well, and
Hmm.
even with my assignments in this writing course, so I'll just that's why I'm in this class now because I really don't understand it. Like it's
Uh-huh.
weird. I don't like skimming. I have to like condition in my mind, like slow
Yeah.
down and read this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And then, so then we have to think about the why. Why do you not
yes.
want to skim? Why do you have to read every word?
Mhm.
Many times students, and the answers I've heard many times, student will say, well, they know that they're a perfectionist and they want to read every single word. Other students said, well, if it says it in the instructions to read this, I'm going to do it, right? Because I don't want to lie about it. Again,
Mhm.
they're not asking you at the end of the class, did you read everything in the book? Okay. There are some
Mhm.
situations where I would say you got to be able to choose to skim or not. Okay.
Mhm.
Other students will say, well, if I'm buying the book and I'm spending all this money, I'm going to read everything. I don't want to miss out. Some students will say they don't want to miss out on any information. You're also in an 8 week class, my friend. I don't
Mhm.
know how, as a working adult, in ministry with grandkids, kids, or you're a caregiver, I don't know how the heck you're going to read
Mhm.
a 500-page book and write papers every week.
Damn.
I mean, even in my master's degree, I'll be honest, I did not read everything. I didn't. Because I knew how to choose which one would benefit me and for that assignment and where I was going with my career. So you need to think about that as well. So if you're getting discouraged, we might need to go back and look at that why, Ginger. Why are
Me
you
too.
reading every single word? Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I don't. I skim, and I don't like
Oh,
skimming.
you skim. Oh, you skim. Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Opposite.
like
Sorry. Yeah. Then
yeah,
we need to,
like
what
I
were
don't
then?
want to skim. I think it's my focus or something. It's like
Yeah.
you have to
And that's
condition my
another
mind.
why.
Yeah, to
That's
take
another
my
why.
okay.
Why can you not manage the distractions or and it could go back to what Jeffrey was saying. I mean, you have to think about as you age,
Yeah,
okay?
that's what I
We're
was
not
thinking.
young anymore, Ginger, right? We
Exactly.
gotta build the muscle
That started
memory.
happening once I started aging. I was like, the devil is a liar.
The
Sharpen my
devil
pencil,
is a
Holy
liar.
Spirit.
That is right. Here's the thing. For just a simple tip, 2 tips actually, to build your muscle memory. First one is to journal. I know it's cliche to say, journal. Journaling isn't just for women. It's not for if you battle a mental health issue. Okay? Journaling is for all ages. My 4-year-old journals, and literally she like can write her name and she just writes down simple, like she'll even draw a sad face or a smiling face to show me what she's feeling. That's what journaling is. You are writing down what's going on up here. It's a processing issue. That's what we're doing. We're trying to process the information. Journal is number 1. If you want to get better at reading and writing, journal, first and foremost. Second is going to be like a Sudoku or a crossword puzzle. Okay? You are strengthening your vocabulary. More than likely, your speed will increase. And we want to strengthen that muscle. So I recommend even those simple numbers, those Sudoku, those puzzles. Try not to do it on a piece of technology. Try not to. Try to do it on a book or something. Yes, Jeffrey, I see your question. Do video games help? My friend, that is such a controversial topic, and I would love to get into that. There are some video games. Yes.
I'm a gamer.
You're a gamer. We need to, so that would be a why, like what types of games? Think about this. There are games you're shooting zombies. Okay? But in that game, what is it teaching you with your brain? It's like here, look around this corner, go, 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 right? It might be good for some areas. There are other games that are very strategic. And you have to work your left side and your right, however I'm facing you, however you see me. You have to work your left and right side. You have to work your memory space. You have to work your prefrontal cortex. You have to in certain games. If you play certain video games, they're only working one thing and they're pointless. Okay? The goal is to work all aspects. So I would look at what the game is, also the coloring of the game, the pace of the game. You have to look at all that. Take that into consideration. Okay? Great questions. If you have follow-up questions, you can respond to my email. I'll be sending this PowerPoint out. I know we're a little over time. I apologize, guys. I'll be sending out an email with all this information. If you'd like to schedule a session with me or someone else on the Ally Center team, another professional, even a writing specialist or a reading specialist, we have that. I can schedule a session with them as well. All right. Otherwise, thank you very much for spending time with me and joining me tonight. I hope you walk away from this feeling equipped and motivated to read, right? Not just to read more, but to read better. All right. Thank you so much. God bless, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Bless you.
welcome.
Have a blessed night.
You're
Have a
you're
good night.
welcome. Bye-bye.